Hi everyone, I am A. Nirisha, Assistant Professor in the Department of CSIT working in MLR Institutions of Technology. Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss about functions in the C language. So coming to the overview, we are going to discuss about the functions, types of functions, and also about the different categories of the function calls. So coming to the functions in C. So function is nothing but a subpart of a program. So this subpart will come under the structure of C, the last section of the structure of C. So first, we are using these functions to perform some specific task. So for example, so you are going to an ATM machine. So based on your requirement, based on your pen, based on your card, and based on your amount, based on the whatever inputs you are giving, so based on that we are getting some required output. So based on that amount you have entered, so that much amount we are getting it as an output. So nothing but the ATM machine will work under the concept of functions. And coming to the another example, for example, you are going with you're playing with a game. So consider some war or something, some game you are playing, and at that time, whenever the enemy come forward to you, so you will use some gun, some weapons like a gun, sword, or some other weapons. So whenever the enemy comes, you are clicking on that button like gun button or sword button, so the actions will be performed. So that particular action, that particular code we are writing inside the function. So that thing, whenever we are clicking on that sword or gun button, so that particular actions, whatever the instructions we have given in that code, that will get activated and those actions will be performed. So that is the reason why whenever we click on that sword button, the actions will be performed. So it is nothing but reusability. So we can reuse the code for number of times. So coming to the advantages of the functions we can include modular programming, and the functions can also make program more readable and also the understandable. And next, the complexities will becomes easy. And next, whenever the code is created, it can be used many number of times. The code reusability is the main advantages of this function concept. We can use that particular piece of code for n number of times, and whenever you call the code, that the instructions whatever we have given in that function will get activated and that actions will get performed. And using functions, large programs can be divided into smaller modules. So coming to the types of functions. In types of functions, we have two types. One is predefined, other one is the user-defined. Predefined functions are nothing but the library functions or standard functions or some system functions. We're also calling it as well system functions, standard functions, and also the library functions. So in this predefined functions, the code is already defined. For example, we have used in every problem statement, we have used a printf and scanf statement. So the code written for that printf and scanf functions are reusable. We are reusing the code again and again in all the programs. So these printf and scanf functions are nothing but predefined functions. The implementation of system-defined functions or predefined functions is already defined by the system. So it is already defined. So we don't need to give any kind of code to perform some action. It will be performed the actions based on that functions that are defined. So in a C language, the system-defined functions are defined inside the header files like stdio.h, conio.h, math.h, string.h. So these are nothing but the standard input and output header file. The functions printf and scanf functions will work only if we have this kind of header files. So and also we have some getAs function, getChar function, some input and output functions. So that functions related code or function definitions are defined in this header files, stdio.h header file. And coming to the mathematical related problems like power or square root, all those things, and some of the sine values, cos values, if you want any kind of values, that values are defined in math.h header file. And string related functions that are defined in string.h header file. So for example, see here we can find the example like printf and scanf functions are defined in the header file called stdio.h header files. So the definition are present in this header files. So then only we can use that printf, and if you are using that header file, then only we can use that printf and scanf functions. And next is user-defined functions. In C programming language, users can create their own functions. The functions that are created by the users are called user-defined functions. So based on our task, based on our requirement, we can define the function code and we can perform some task. So the user-defined functions are defined as follows. So these three things should be mandatory when you are defining a functions. We need to declare all those things. We need to define all those things when you are using the function concept, that is user-defined functions. First thing is function declaration, or else we can also call it as function prototype. Next is we need to define that function, and next is we need to call that function. So coming to the function declaration. The function declaration tells the compiler about function name, the data type of the return value, and also the inputs, the parameters that what you are using. The function declaration is also called as a function prototype. The function declaration is performed before the main function or inside the main function or any other functions. So, and next is the function declaration syntax. So this is the syntax. So based on this syntax, we need to write the function declaration. The first thing we are writing here, it is return data type, and the next thing is the function name, and next is the parameter list. So this is the function name, that is to identify the what kind of task you are performing. And the next parameter list will tell about what kind of inputs you are giving to that function. And next return data type will tell about what kind of output you are getting from that particular function. And next is the function definition. The function definition provides the actual code of the function. The function definition is also known as the body of the function. So this function definition contains two parts. One is function header and other one is the body of the function. So coming to the function header is same as the syntax of the function declaration. Only the thing is here we are using the semicolon, here we are not using the semicolon. So as we know, if you are using the semicolon, the line get terminates. So if the line get terminates, the inside the code that will not get run properly. So that is the reason why in the function definition, we are not using any kind of semicolons here. So this return data type, what type of return data type you are getting, and next this is a function name, and next the parameter list, what kind of inputs we are giving. So in this opening and closing brackets, we are writing the code that is defined for our function. Next is the function call. A function call tells the compiler when to execute the function definition. When a function call is executed, the control jumps to the function definition where the actual code gets executed and returned to the same function call once the execution completes. So the function call is performed inside the main function and other functions are inside the function itself. So the syntax of the function call is we are calling the function by using its name, and if you have any parameters, then we are passing the parameters inside. For suppose here we have the main function, we are writing inside this is the main function, and next this is the declaration. So here we are declaring the void is my return data type, which means I'm not getting any kind of output from that function. And the next consider some function name as fun, and the next the inputs, we are not passing any kind of inputs to this function. So inside this main function, we are calling this fun function. So what it happens, the control will directly jump to the function definition. So consider the function definition we are writing here. So void fun, and here by using some printf statements, we are writing hi or hello, and the next printf hello. So here the execution starts from the main function. That is the reason why we are writing the function call inside the main function. This is a main point to get observed. And the next, whenever the compiler encounters the function call, it directly jumps to the function definition, and whatever the statements that we have written in that function definition will get executed, and the control after execution of this particular statements, again the control will return back to the main function. And if any statements we found after this function call, so those statements will get executed, or else if we don't find any statements, then the program ends by here. So the output of this program will come hi and also the hello. So some example, one example. So example regarding sum of natural numbers. We are finding the sum of natural numbers by using a functions. So here as usual we are using the header file, and this is nothing but the function declaration. So if you are dealing with the functions, we need to use use some three things, that is function declaration, function definition and function call. So this is a function declaration and this is the function call and this is a function definition, that is the definition of the function we are writing inside the function definition. So coming to the function declaration, so we are writing the function declaration as per the syntax. So the return data type is int and the name of my function is sum of natural, and the next input that I am passing is n value. So parameter list is nothing but the what kind of input, what kind of data type we are passing as an input to the function. So I am passing the integer data type to this sum of natural numbers as a function. So we are getting the output. Return data type is nothing but we are getting the output from this function as of what type? As of integer type. So coming to the next, inside the main function, we are declaring two variables, that is n and result, because we have mentioned clearly that in the declaration we are passing an n value. So before passing an n value, we need to read that n value. That is the reason why we are declaring it, and we are asking to enter a number, and also by using a scanf statement, we are reading that particular number. And next we are calling the function sum of natural, and what the value we are passing here, n value we are passing as an input. So the parameters that we are passing to the sum of natural is n. So n is of what type? N is of integer type. So one integer value we are passing to this sum of natural numbers. So the compiler will jump to the function definition. So here this is also the header, the function definition. In function definition, function header is same as the function declaration. Only the thing is we are not using semicolon at the end in the function header. So here we are declaring some variables, that is sum is equals to 0 and I. Here the task we are going to perform is sum of natural numbers. So the natural numbers starting from 1 to n. So that is the reason why we are taking I is equals to 1 and we are running this loop till n times. And next I increment. So inside this for loop we have written sum is equals to sum plus I. So initially we are taking sum is equals to 0. And to the sum value we are adding the I. In every iteration, the incremented I value will be added to this sum. So after completion of this loop exits. So when the loop exits, so if the condition falls, the loop exit. So after that, we have one more statement, that is return sum. By using this return keyword, the sum value will be returned back to the main function. So the value of this particular thing, so like we call the function, and the value of this sum, return sum, the sum value will be in the place of the sum of natural numbers. So that value we are assigning to the result variable. And by using this printf statement, we are printing that result variable. So output, so enter a number, I am entering the turn number, and after execution of the code, we will get the sum of natural numbers as 55. And some of the function categories we have, that is different types of function calls we have. We can call the functions for some 4 different types. That is, we have like a function with parameters, without parameters, with return types and without return types. So each of the function category we are going to see now. So coming to the first category, the function without parameters and without a return type. So in this function, we are not giving any parameters to the function, and also we are not getting any return type from that function. So just now we have seen about that void fun. So that function belongs to the same category. We are not giving any inputs to that function, and also we are not getting any output from that function. So in this type of function, there is no data transfer between calling function and the called function. So coming to the calling function and called function is called the main function and called function is called the user defined function. So simply the execution control jumps from the calling function to the called function and execute called function. So whatever the instructions we have in the called function, that will get executed and finally come back to the calling function. Again, it will come back to the main function. So for example, consider the following program. So here we are writing the code to find the factorial of n number using functions without parameters and without return value. So here inside, this is the function declaration void factorial. Factorial is my function name and void is nothing but a return data type. So coming to this void data type, void has no value. That is the reason why we are using here void as a data type. And the brackets over here inside this, the parameter list is also empty, so that we are not giving any kind of input to that function. To which function? To the factorial function. So this is a function declaration, and next inside the main function we are calling the function call. So we are calling the function call by using its name. The name of the function is factorial. So the control will jump to the function definition. So here void, this is a function definition. So in the function definition, we are declaring all this n, I and fact is equals to 1. So those are the variables that I have requirement. So and by using this printf statement, I am asking to enter the integer, and by using this scanf statement, we are reading that n value, integer value. And these 2 lines are the code that we have written to find the factorial of a number. So the code is for I is equals to 1, and we are multiplying the number from 1 to n. So that is the reason why we are taking I as 1, and the condition we have written as I less than or equals to n. Till n we need to repeat this loop. So inside this for loop we have written fact is equals to fact into I. So as on the I value is getting incremented, that I value we are multiplying to the factorial variable, factor variable. So finally when the loop ends, when the for loop ends, the fact value will be the resultant factorial value. So by using this printf statement, we are printing that fact value, the original factorial value. So if you execute this code, you'll get the output as this. Enter the integer, we have given the integer as 5, and coming to the factorial of given number is 120. So the 120 is a factorial of that given number. So in all the 4 categories, we are finding the factorial. So these 4 ways are nothing but how the different ways of functions we can implement. So the next way is functions without parameter and with return type. Here we are not giving any inputs, but we are getting output from that particular function. So this is a function declaration. Int is my return data type. As we mentioned, the category is with return type. With return type means we have some kind of input. So coming to this factorial is the name of the function. So what kind of input you are giving? Integer value. And what kind of output you are getting from that factorial? Integer value itself. So that is the reason why we are writing the return data type as an int. And next inside the main function, one result variable we are declaring. And next we are calling this factorial function by using its name. So as soon as the function call happens in the main function, the control will jump to the function definition. So in factorial, and these are the variables that I have requirement to solve that particular factorial of a number. And next by using printf statement, we are asking to enter integer, and by using scanf statement, we are reading that n value. And these are the 2 lines are nothing but the logic to find the factorial. So after getting the factorial, by using this return keyword, the fact, whatever the value that we have in the fact, that will be returned back to the main function. So that factorial value will be assigned to the result value. And by using this printf statement, we are printing factorial is %d, and now the result we have in this, there is the fact value is returned to the main function, and that was assigned to the res variable. So that is the reason why we are writing here res variable, and the value that whatever we have in this, that will be reflected in this control string place. So here we are not giving any inputs while calling the function. That is the reason why in the user defined function itself we are reading that inputs. And next category is function with parameters and without return type. So we are passing inputs to the function, but we are not returning any value to that function. So coming to an example program, same factorial. Here this is the declaration of the function, and the return data type is void. Since we mentioned without return value, so where the function is not returning any return value. So as per the syntax, we have return data type. So based on that return data type, void will not return anything. That is the reason why we have returned the return data type as a void. And factorial is a function name, and integer is nothing. Int is nothing but the int type of data we are passing as an input to that factorial function. And next inside the main function, we are declaring an n value. And then next by using printf, we are asking to enter integer, and by using scanf, we are reading that n value, and we are calling that function, a factorial function. And here to this factorial function, we are passing an n value. N is nothing but input that I am giving to that factorial function. So this function, the control will jump to the function definition, and this n value will be copied to this n. And next we are declaring some variables based on our requirement, and this is the 2 lines of code to find the factorial of a number, and by using the printf statement we are printing that fact value. So this function, this factorial, in this category, this factorial function is not returning back any value. So that is the reason why we are printing that result inside this user defined function itself. So now again, after execution of all these complete statements has been done, the compiler, the control will return to the main function, and here return 0, so the program ends. And coming to the output, so we are entering the digit as 3 and the factorial of 3 is 6. And the next category is function with parameters and with return value. So we have both, we are passing parameters and also we are getting some input. So this is a function declaration. Factorial is a function name, integer value that we are passing to the function as an input, and next the output also we are getting as an integer value. And next inside the main function, some n and result we are declaring some variables that I have required. And next, by using this printf, we are asking to enter integer, and by using this scanf, we are reading that n value, and we are calling this function call by using its name. So the control will jump to the function definition. So these are the set of instructions that I had given to solve that particular task, and we are finding the factorial, and by using this return keyword, the fact value we are returning, which means the result we are returning, the factorial of that n value we are returning to the main function. So that the value that will be assigned to the result variable, and by using this printf statement we are printing that result factorial of given number is equals to that particular result, whatever the value is assigned. So coming to the test cases, we are giving the input as 5 and we are getting factorial of given number as 120. Thank you.